Okay, we got the King coming up with Gypsy Joe as opponent in just a moment in a one-fall 15-minute time limit bout. Before he gets in the ring, want to get Jerry in here on the way to the ring to have a word or two with him. Here he is, the King. Good after day.
Is that all the introduction I get?
Well, I could spend a little time on it, Jerry.
With this hanging over my shoulder, that's all the introduction.
The Southern Heavyweight Champion, Jerry the King Lawler.
Thank you. Of all the introductions I've ever heard, that was certainly the most recent. Lance, I appreciate those kind words, and I just want to say that it is nice to once again be out here on television with this belt on my shoulder, the proud owner once again of my belt, as I told you people that I would be. And I want to talk for just a second about the match that I've got coming up. I heard a little history lesson, and I want to give you a little history lesson, or kind of go back in time for just a second if I could, too, you know. I've got this match coming up with Norvell Austin, and I'm not foolish enough to believe for 1 second that Norvell Austin is going to go to that ring by himself. Now, it's true, I did get a call, and they said, would you be willing to make it a no time limit, no disqualification match if you also had the stipulation the winner take all? And I said, yes, I would. Now, that's all of that he said is true, because like you said, the winner take all, that means the loser gets nothing.
That's right.
Winner takes all the money. I do like that. Maybe I am just a tad greedy, you know, I don't know. But I do like those kind of stipulations. And I do think that I can beat Norvell Austin. So I'm not really worried that much about the match. But then I got to thinking, no time limit, no disqualification. That means just anything can take place in that match. They can't stop it. They can't disqualify him. Now, I also know that Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey are going to be at ringside. You realize that, don't you, Lance?
I'm sure they will.
They've got to be sitting right in Norvell Austin's corner. Now, this is a distinct advantage for Norvell Austin. You see, even though I am the King and probably the greatest wrestler to ever step foot in a ring, and I know that I can beat Norvell Austin with no problem whatsoever, I can't always beat Norvell Austin and Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey. Now, those odds would be a little bit in their favor. You're right. So let's talk just a second about in the past. You can remember, Lance, when I used to win all my matches. Every time I stepped in the ring, I would win my match because I only had to worry about my opponent. That's the only person I had to contend with. I didn't have to think about anybody sitting in their corner because I had a man named Sam Bass, bless his heart, sitting in my corner, right?
That is true.
That's right. And did I win my matches or not, Lance?
You did, in fact. Number one contender for the world title.
That's exactly right. And that's what I want to be again. I want to be the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Not only the contender, I want to win the World Heavyweight Championship again, Lance. And that is what my goal is, and that is what I intend to do. And another time, even though, you know, I'm sure the people weren't crazy about this, but I was also very successful at another time in my career when I only had to worry about my opponent, and I had a guy named Jimmy Hart sitting in my corner, right?
I remember that well, too.
That's right. See, that is an advantage because you only have to think about the man that you're wrestling. You don't have to worry about a guy like Hart running around the ring and jabbing you with a stick and doing things like that, and that is an advantage. And so that is the reason that I made a couple of telephone calls the last couple of days, and I talked to a man that's gone through a similar situation that I went through with Jimmy Hart. You know, Jimmy Hart used to love me. He used to put his hand around me. I mean, I thought I was going to have some turn signals installed somewhere on my body to keep him from breaking his nose. That's how much Jimmy Hart thought of me, because he knew that I was his meal ticket. He wanted me. He wanted to use me to get himself into a position of importance, and he did that. And then when he saw that I couldn't help him anymore, buddy, he stabbed me in the back and tried to have me arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. That's how much Hart thinks of somebody. He is a jerk, a low-life, double-dealing, slimy, stinking, backstabbing scum.
Be careful.
Now, another man that posed a threat to Jimmy Hart, see, anytime anybody poses a threat to Hart, he tries to sit down and figure out a way that he can do away with him, get him out of the picture. And I've called this man that's gone through a similar situation, and I'd like to call him out here right now because I'm going to have him in my corner from now on, especially this week, because I don't want to have to contend with Randy Rose, and I don't want to have to contend with Dennis Condrey. Now, right here is a gentleman, and you people all know him. His name is Danny Davis. That's right. Now, I'm not asking anybody out here right now to come over here and welcome Danny Davis with open arms, because I know he's done a lot of things that you people didn't like in the past. Well, I was the same way at one time. All Danny Davis is going to have to do now is prove himself. But you see, Jimmy Hart tried to get rid of Danny Davis. He knew he was a good manager. He knew he was a threat to Hart. So what he did, he got this man to put a mask on and wrestle as the Nightmare, and then he was great. He was Jimmy's Candy Kid, his top team. But then the more wrestlers Jimmy Hart brought in here, he shoved Danny down the ladder. One more notch down the ladder, down the ladder. And now he's got all of these new wrestlers in here, and he doesn't even want anything to do with Danny Davis anymore. So I've called Danny, and I said, Danny, I know you're a good manager. I know. And I explained to him what Jimmy Hart did to me and what he's done to him. And I said, Danny, I'm going to give you an opportunity. If you'll sit in my corner in this match I got coming up with Norvell Austin, take care of Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose, watch my back for me, we may just develop a lasting friendship. And he was more than glad to oblige. Now, like I said, I'm not expecting the people to come out here and welcome him with open arms. He's going to have to prove himself, and I expect Danny Davis to do that. And I'm telling you right now, with him at my side, you are looking at the next world heavyweight champion, man.
Well, I am a little surprised, to say the very least, that you've got Danny Davis in your corner.
It's just like Jerry said. I don't expect the people to, accept me. I've got to prove myself to them. I think I will be able to prove myself to Jerry Lawler because he had trust enough in me to call, because he knows what I'm going through with Jimmy Hart. He knows that I hate his guts just like he hates his guts, because it's just like he said. When Jimmy Hart is through with you, brother, he's through with you. He'll throw you on the floor and he'll stick his foot right in your face. Well, Hart, I didn't have car trouble. I got one on you. Jerry, I've been in the wrestling profession 3.5 years, and I've only been on one side of the fence, and that's the side of the fence that Jimmy Hart has been on. And they always say the grass is greener on the other side. Well, you're giving me a chance to find out that it is. And I believe, along with you, if I can get your confidence, and I know I can, and if I can get these people's confidence, which I know I can, you will be the champion that you are. My managing qualifications, just like you said, I have managed Buddy and Ken Wayne. At that time, they were the great father and son team. I've managed guys like the Hulk. I've managed guys like Ron Bass, Pete Austin, and last but not least, probably the greatest team of that time was the Blonde Bombers, Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham. Okay, and
very well.
Every one of those that I managed, they held belts. And it will be no exception here. This man right here has got his belt. He got the belt without me, and he can keep it without me. But it's a situation, like he said, where he knows that Norvell Austin is going to have Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey in his corner. Well, I'm going to be there to ensure you that if either of them get up, I'll do my utmost. You have got my solemn oath as a man and a gentleman that I will back you 100%.
That's right. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give a new meaning to the word manager. He is not going to be in my corner to do the things like Jimmy Hart does. He is not going to be in there to try to do any kind of harm at all to my opponent. He is going to be there to offset people like Kenny Shane and Jimmy Hart. And that is exactly what we need around here, baby.
Well,
you've got my word. Last person, I'm telling you, you've got my word, Jerry Lawler. As a man and a gentleman, I will not turn my back on you.
Okay. We will have an opportunity. Is he going to be in the corner today in your match with Gypsy Joe? If you would get in the ring, we would proceed with action in here. And an unusual situation. The King is the one who made the stipulations to trust Danny. He's in his corner, and we'll take a look at it. Davey, here we go.
It's one fall, 15-minute time limit. Introducing from Romania, 224 pounds, Gypsy Joe. Joe grabbing Lawler over in the corner during the introduction. All right, well, forget the introductions and just get on with it here. Joe stepped into that ring and headed for Lawler, grabbing him right in the middle of trying to get the official introductions underway. Joe dragged Lawler across the ring with a heel. Lawler backs into a corner, comes out of there battling. Upper part of the arm. There's a cover, 2, 3.
Wow, that was it.
Lawler gets the win. Oh, boy. Joe jumped him over there. Lawler was not ready. He was about to hand his belt and his crown out to Danny Davis, his new manager. Joe jumped him. Now look out, Joe's got Kenny Shane's cane up there, stalking around with it. Joe forced the action. Lawler answered, and in 34 seconds, the King has himself a win over Gypsy Joe. Joe's still not finished. He grabs the Hart's chair, throws it in the ring. Lawler picks it up and says, all right, you want to play with the chair? Come on in here. Ooh. Well, I guess word of advice for Joe, leave it alone and get on out of here. Get back to the dressing room.
He is doing that now, but a little late.
A little late, you're right. And there is the winner. In 34 seconds, Jerry Lawler.
We were in the process of getting a chair for manager Danny Davis in Lawler's corner, and before the chair ever got over there, Lawler had taken things into his own hand and ended that little jewel right up. Boy, I'll tell you, when he got it going for a 1, 2, 3.